I'd like to welcome y'all back to another episode of the Unframe of Mind show, where we have uncomfortable conversations without a condom. And today I'm having a guest on that we connected over social media and found out that, you know, while we do have some differing views, we have a lot of similarities as well. He calls himself an independent. I call myself anarchist and outside the box. That being said, I'd like to welcome Chris from the YouTube channel Chris Does What to the show. What's going on, man?
Hey, not much. Different strokes for different folks.
Right on, right on.
So, yeah, I can't wait to dig into this. I know Bitcoin versus monetary, dollars there's a lot of controversy right now.
Yeah. So that's the main topic we're looking to discuss today, because we found out that is a point of difference, and I think that makes for a much more interesting show if we can actually have a discussion about things we don't quite agree on, instead of just scratching each other's back and creating more of an echo chamber for one another. So before we get started, you want to tell the folks about what you do on your channel and kind of give them an idea what it's about, so if they want to check you out, they can do that.
Yeah, sure. My channel is Chris Does What, and pretty much do a little bit of everything. It's just whatever I'm doing at the time. So it could be, reviews to how-tos to my wife does Dining In with Danny, things like that. So just a little bit of everything. I like touching financials and also better living, how to live better.
Right on. So like a life lessons kind of channel is what we're looking at. It's pretty cool that you do it with your wife too, that you guys are both in on it together. It's awesome to have the support necessary for that. So I was pretty pleased to see that for sure. And seems like you must be touching somebody's lives, because you got a pretty decent amount of subscribers. How long have you been doing this for?
Well, we've been doing this. Well, I started it 2.5 years ago, and then she started jumping in about 1.5 years ago.
And that's when your subscriber count went up, right?
Of course, that femininity really helps. Right. And so I keep telling her she is the star and the lifeblood of the show.
All right. Well, maybe that's what I need to do. Get my wife in on the channel so people start signing up for the hot chick in the thumbnail, right?
It took us 20 years to connect. We've been married for 20 years, and so
nice.
All kinds of learning curves to get to this point.
Oh, man, you're telling me. I've been married for 15 myself.
Congratulations.
I'm not too far behind you in all things considered. So I guess we'll just jump right into the subject matter, and I was really curious. The first question I wanted to ask you is, what have you heard about cryptocurrency or Bitcoin or anything related to that industry? Kind of what's the general idea you have about it and what's going on in it?
Well, to me, it looks more like a stock. I do a lot of trading and things like that, and the way this chart looks, it looks like it's something you want to, of course, buy low, sell high. Mm-hmm. And it's a roller coaster. I'm actually looking at the chart over on my other screen.
Oh, which website are you looking at?
Oh, I actually have a blockchain because I have Bitcoin.
Oh, okay. You have your own blockchain you've created?
No. I have a blockchain bank that stores the Bitcoin that I've mined, because
I got you.
I'm not going to spend my money to buy this stuff.
Right on. And how, and I guess I'm curious why you wouldn't do that. I'm not saying you're right or wrong. I'm just curious. Just curious why.
Why I wouldn't what?
Why you're not interested in putting your own money into it? You're interested in mining it. So I mean, you're obviously interested in allocating some of your resources to it. In terms of your equipment and your electricity costs and things like that. But as far as putting your own money into it, why not do that?
Well, because I speak to financial matters, and blockchain or Bitcoin has been around since 2009. Mm-hmm. And so I remember when it came out, and of course I wanted to be knowledgeable of it in case somebody came to me and said, hey, what about Bitcoin? And I could speak to it versus what about using dollars and investing them and things like that. So I think it is a very volatile currency that's not a currency right now, because you can't trade services or You can't buy goods for it with it. And also if it was used as a primary currency, I feel that it would be heavily deflationary. So it would deflate the economy, which I know a lot of people think deflation is great. I think deflation's bad.
Well, let me write a couple notes down on that. There was a couple things I wanted to hit on. Let's see, deflationary, and the other one was the buying items with it, right?
Yeah, purchasing, because I've seen where companies that have actually accepted Bitcoin for a bit, but then they stopped accepting Bitcoins because, if the price of the game this month was this many Bitcoins and next month it's cut in half, it's really not logical to use that as a currency.
Right, I understand what you're saying. So, what I'm curious about is why would you think that deflationary is bad as opposed to what we currently have with our fiat currency, which is highly inflationary, inflationary, if that's a word.
I will take.
I've never said that word before. Let's go with it.
I like it. I'm going to claim that word, sir.
All right, we'll go with it. You know what I'm saying, though, right?
I know what you're saying.
As long as I've communicated it to you, I'm a happy camper.
So inflation. Right now, we see about 3%. Actually, during Obama time, inflation slightly went down. Excuse me. This lead beer is getting to me.
Already, huh?
Already. Well, it's not, almost 10%.
Oh, geez, that's a good one.
So delirium strumens.
Never heard of it.
Belgian beer.
Yeah. I'll try 7%, and I'm feeling pretty good after a beer or two.
I have a little body mass.
Yeah, that's what's up.
So, right now we're at about 3% inflation, which inflation promotes investment, because I use investment to combat inflation. So I invest my money into other companies via stock, mutual funds, whatever, and watch my money grow. And that basically I see between 7 to 12% growth on my money in these investment accounts, which the 3% I'm still seeing, about 6%. So say you had $1 million in investments, drawing at 6%.
Right.
That would be $60,000 a year net income, just on the interest on your money.
That makes sense.
So with a deflationary currency, what tends to happen is, or in the deflationary period, like the Great Depression, people tend to hoard money. So instead of wanting to spend it, their money actually makes more interest just holding on to it. So they just keep it in the bank and they watch prices drop, because the cost of labor goes down, the cost of goods and services goes down, because there is a small amount of currency available for their products. So they're just waiting, they keep dropping the price to get somebody to buy at this product and pay them dollar, Bitcoin, whatever that currency is. And if you have, go ahead.
Oh, so what I'm to understand, inflationary currency, or when a currency is inflationary, I tend to think about all the times when, dang it, would you leave me alone? Got darn ladybugs everywhere, drive me nuts. Anyway, like an inflationary currency would be something that where, say the U.S. government comes in and they can just print money whenever they want, and it causes the overall amount of currency in flow to increase, which ends up bringing down the overall price of the money that you're using. Basically, you don't have as much buying power. The same dollar I would have had back in 1970 will not buy me anywhere near the same amount that it can buy me now. Like, I remember my mom telling me multiple times about how when she was coming up, she could take $1 and go down and get her a McDonald's combo and a pack of cigarettes, and and that would cover it with change left over. And when I think of an inflationary currency or an economic system, I think of that phenomena happening where your money becomes worth less even though there's more of it available. Like it could look like I'm making more money, but as far as my buying power, it's actually dropping regardless.
You're right.
Regardless of the money I make. And the thing about that is the reason I'm interested in the cryptocurrency angle on this is because the way they've designed this system is that there is a hard limit. Like, I think Bitcoin stops at 21 million or something like that. It's 21 million change or something.
21 million, and then it has an eighth decimal point that would make it 21 trillion.
Yeah, it's got a hard limit though. So the amount that can ever be in circulation ever will always be that, and you can never go above it. You can't, I can't come in as a government and just print off whatever I want to try to maintain this fake control of the system. I can't. There's no third party company. There's no government. Nobody can come in and do that to the system. So everybody kind of has this expectation of what it's going to be, and as the supply runs out, it ends up the currency itself ends up being more deflationary as opposed to inflationary, where the value of what I can buy with each one actually increases as the supply runs out, as long as there's enough trading volume and other people that all agree on, okay, we'll use this system to trade within. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. So what you're saying is, when your mom bought this candy bar or this meal, it was $1 or a Bitcoin.
Yes.
And let's say when a year later, that same value meal was a half a Bitcoin.
Right.
So if me, the savvy saver, wanted to, of course, plan for retirement, I would forego that value mill because I would want to hoard my money to watch it grow so I could actually use it later when things cost less.
Absolutely.
Because it would continue to deflate, and basically the person with the most Bitcoin, say I'm Trump Bitcoin and I have billions of Bitcoins.
All right.
So, and now I'm ready to spend my Bitcoin. Nobody else has Bitcoin, so I can give them a fractional percent of a Bitcoin for a good, versus when Bitcoin first started back in, way down here about 2 years ago. That same Bitcoin had very little buying power.
Yeah. Of course, the ecosystem was incredibly small at that time, so there wasn't as much demand driving the price up at that time. And I honestly, my personal opinion is, I feel like it's, that $20,000 price mark we saw it hit last year, or at the end of 2017, I don't think that's going to be nothing compared to what
I see it up to like 12,000
on Bitcoin.
Yeah, I was looking. I have the chart in front of me. Oh, I have it set to a month. Let me change it out to a year, sir. So a year, it went up to about 19,000.
Yeah, it was 19, and some of the exchanges was
the change.
Right up to that, almost hit that 20,000 mark. And I think a lot of that had to do with media hype and things like that. But if you look at the overall growth pattern of it, it's still, you look at the median line of growth, or I'm terrible with my little stock trading terms and all that. So as far as reading a chart, but the general trend line does tend to keep going up, even though it's dropped back down and leveled back out to where it probably should have been the whole time before people started like getting in that frenzy and wanting to buy. It's a fun roller coaster ride, don't get me wrong, but
we just had the same roller coaster on stocks. I lost about 3 months of gains.
Yeah,
and the government shut down. That's when it started. Till I'm actually starting to recoup now.
Yeah. So you know as well as I do that this is more of the long game kind of strategy here. When you start looking at stocks, and even with crypto right now, it's more of a I don't know if you've heard the term hodling, where it's just somebody had mistyped a typo and they were trying to type hold. They typed hodl. So everybody makes fun of this idea of hodling your crypto.
And that's exactly what I'm talking about. It is more like a stock than it is a currency. But if it was a currency, back here I'm looking at a chart, November 12th, 2017, it was about 5,000.
Right.
And then about December 18th, it jumped up to 19,000.
Yep. Yep.
And so, if I was looking to buy a car with my cryptocurrency at that point, I would hold out as long as I could because, say that car was 19,000. Well, when it was down in November, it would take me, 4 Bitcoin to buy my car.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, where in December it only take me 1.
All right. Well, what I'm seeing happen is you're right as far as the people that hold it and they're looking at the long-term growth of this. There are those, and I think the great majority of people that are really into it tend to do that, and you do the same thing with your crypto that you do have, but I would say you also do the same thing with your stocks as well. I mean,
I do it with my dollars, yes.
Right. So what makes me interested about?
Well, actually, no, I don't do it with my dollars.
With your regular dollars?
Because I don't leave my dollars in my bank. I move my dollars out to investment so that I invest in XYZ company. So they have currency to work with, and they promise, to grow and give me more currency back.
Right.
Where with Bitcoin, I wouldn't have to do that. I would just leave it in my bank. It's going to grow.
Leave it in your crypto bank account?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I invested my crypto into another company and they didn't outpace the growth that it was growing just naturally in the bank.
Yeah, you're right about that. Which is nice. I actually enjoy that, the fact that I can, like if I take $100 of USD and I put it under my mattress for a year, well, in a year's time, according to the current growth rate, now I have $97 worth of buying power.
Of course.
With a lot of cryptos right now, if I put that same $100 into that mattress, so to speak, if it was just Ethereum, if I had bought that a year ago, that would now be worth, I think, around $10,000. It's jumped up considerably. It's pretty incredible to watch it grow, and the
it is, but it doesn't grow the economy. It doesn't grow the economy.
I wouldn't say. I think it's actually kind of creating its own economy in the way that we probably should be seeing the economy minus government intervention.
No, I used to be a fan of heavy deflation. This was about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I thought that very high deflation, of course, if you have money in the bank, high deflation would be great for you.
Right.
But, I moved money out of the banks and I moved it into investments and things like that. If I see a heavy deflation period, I would lose a lot of money.
Oh, if your money is...
there would be no incentive for me to invest in Bob's Taco Shack down the road because my money would be better invested in a bank somewhere, which I'm not a fan of banks.
Yeah, so that's where we kind of run into a problem too. As an anarchist, I'm looking at this from the perspective of, well, the reason a lot of people are investing in the stock market is because they're kind of being forced to do so. They really would probably rather keep their money in their savings account and let it be deflationary and allow that to grow. But you kind of you lose out if you don't. Like you're being forced to do it, and a lot of people don't understand what the stock market even is, let alone how it works or why I would want to buy this or that, or the concept of diversification. Most people that I work with, they're like, oh, I just my job takes X amount % out of my check every week, and then I let the investment company deal with it. And that's just a terrible strategy.
That's not bad, actually.
To let
let the investors do it. I let my investors do it because they're smarter about investing than I am. But this is where I go to capitalistic market. If my investors suck, I'm going to fire them investors, right, and I'm going to get new investors.
Well, in our particular case, we have one company it all goes through, and I think that's Vanguard. I don't know how good they are compared to other ones.
Vanguard's pretty good, actually.
Yeah, are they? So here's my strategy, because it would be very irresponsible of me as a father of 4, and I have to run a household on my income. It would be irresponsible for me to put as much money into crypto as I would actually kind of like to, or wished I had a year ago. But so my strategy has been this, and let me see what you think about this. I've got that normal X amount percent of my check goes into Vanguard because the company will match, a certain percentage. So I do that to get the company match.
Of course, that's free money.
Yeah, free money. So I'll do that. I also have a little bit each week. Basically it's a few bucks a week that I'm not afraid to lose, that I probably could have gone and spent on that value meal we talked about. A few bucks a week I put into crypto, and a few bucks a week I put into something else like gold. So I'm diversifying in terms of not only am I diversifying within my stock portfolios and all that, but I'm diversifying in terms of, okay, some of it is tied to the US dollar and some of it is not, because I am looking down the road 10 years from now, and would you agree that what is mathematically not possible, or what mathematically cannot continue, will not continue? I mean, and what I mean by that is that if our government continues to keep trying to do this fake inflation of our currency and keep trying to prop up the system with all these bank loans and bailouts and the quantitative easing system, whatever the hell you call them.
I'm not a fan of debt.
Yeah, so
the government debt, I frown upon that.
Right.
And the way Trump's going, I know he has a strategy. He's basically going to buy down the debt, but still, it's like settling with your creditors. When you have owe $20,000 on a credit card, and you call them and you don't pay them for a few years and say, I can only pay $5,000.
Right.
And they just accept that just to get money.
Just because they know they probably ain't gonna get nothing else.
Yes.
Yeah. See, I was looking at what during the last election that I was looking at the economy this way: is if Hillary would have gotten into office, we would have, imagine our economy as an airplane flying along, and we're going to crash. We're going to crash one way or another. With Hillary, we would have just stopped midair right there and just plummeted to the ground. With Trump, at least we're going to come in. We're still going to hit the ground, but it might take us a little bit longer, and we're going to come in with a little easier landing, and maybe it won't be so detrimental for everybody involved. Maybe a few of us will survive even. I don't know.
It could be. Trump, I have mixed feelings about Trump. I like what he's doing, especially for the economy. People have jobs. The stock market was rising until the government shut down.
Yeah.
But, I'm a fan of what he's doing economically. Some of his ideas for gun control and things like that, not so much a fan of, but that's off topic.
Right. I think, like I said, man, we agree on, I think, way more than we disagree on, because I'm right
I
there
know
with you. On every bit of what you just said, I'm right there with you. And it's fascinating for me, the crypto. The reason I'm so fascinated with it is because it's not just about currency. That is, I don't know if you watched last night on the live stream or not, this particular part, but the best way I can describe what it is the different blockchains represent like your operating system, like like your Windows 95, or your iOS operating system. And then the cryptocurrency aspect of it is just one app you can run on top of the blockchain. I'm interested in the currency aspect of it, don't get me wrong, because that's also exciting, but I'm also interested in all the other different disruptive technologies that's going to come out of this. Just the ability to have a distributed ledger that is unchangeable, that is trustless, that is decentralized. That is the concept itself is what I'm really invested in and I'm really excited about.
Wait, and then CNN's going to say Russia hacked it. So I was looking through all the different Bitcoins, and so in 2009 is when Bitcoin came out. I have it up here right now. And so in 2011 we got three new cryptocurrencies, and then 2012, slow year, we only had two. 2013, man, they kept blowing them up, and so it's kind of like going back in time where they're trying to grab what was going to be a currency. And so I remember tobacco. I don't remember this personally, but tobacco was a currency. And how well would that work? Your tobacco leaves rot. But
right.
If you look at other currencies. So if you're in Texas, I used to live in Texas, and you're selling snowflakes. Well, these snowflakes would hold very little value up north because you don't want too many snowflakes.
Oh, yeah,
but
yeah,
in
yeah.
Texas, you want that cool breeze. And I'm not talking about the internet snowflakes. I'm actually talking about snow.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
So it's wherever who holds that currency valuable. And right now, Bitcoin, not a lot of people are accepting it for goods nor services. If they were, I would be on board. I would be trying to suck up as much Bitcoin as I could, because I could trade this for goods and services.
That's the other note I wanted to hit on was the buying of items. I don't know if you're aware, but services like PayPal do accept Bitcoin, and I know Overstock.com started accepting it as a form of payment, and some companies are doing it. I've heard about some Subway restaurants that are doing it, and a number of people have sat there and tried to. They made it a challenge of theirs to go for 3-month period or a 6-month period purchasing everything with crypto or what have you. And it's challenging. It's like the early days of the internet where it was like took forever for a damn image to load up. You'd sit there and watch it load up line by line by line, and then they got it. But so it's really slow and it's clunky. And as more people get on the network, it's really hard to get the bandwidth, and the fees go up as a result. But it's really still in its infancy as far as this technology goes, and there are a number of.
But as you said when you started, they're not creating any more Bitcoin. Printing money, it basically is more to combat demand than to inflate currency. So unless you're in Venezuela, where currency inflation is just outrageous and people are dying because their world of money doesn't buy anything, that's really bad inflation. So at that point, even your gold wouldn't be worth nothing because you couldn't eat it.
Right. Yeah. So, I'm really nervous about any time somebody wants to come in and try to artificially inflate the currency. Printing money, I get what they're trying to do, but they're tampering with something they have no business tampering with.
Of course.
You're talking about a system that used to be at least tied to the gold standard, so people at least would have a general idea of how much their money was worth. Right now, it's so out there right now. Nobody has any idea what it's actually worth, and I have a sneaking suspicion that if things continue to go down the path we're going, we're going to find out real quick how much our dollar is worth, and it's not going to be worth shit. And it's scary to me.
Your dollar's only worth something until it's not. So if you're willing to go out and work and trade your service for dollars, and then even though you're trying to protect yourself from this by buying gold or Bitcoin or something of that nature, it's like any currency. If gold, if I can melt down gold and make bullets with it, and it would be more valuable for me to hunt food with this gold bullet I made versus spending it, because nobody's accepting it because they want to eat and they can't eat gold. There it holds no value. So if fertilizer is valuable, so you have a cart or the back of your truck full of shit, and you dump the crap on the garden, that is more valuable to that person at that time than gold or something of that nature.
Oh yeah, yeah. So, I notice we keep using a similar word, and I think that's the key word that a lot of people forget, is that it's about value. Regardless of what you use as currency, and it's all about the creation of value or the exchange of value. And
correct.
I'm sitting here thinking about that gold bullet idea, and all I can think is, man, if we're in a world, in a situation where we have to make bullets out of our gold that we've got, I think we've got bigger problems to deal with than what kind of currency we're going to be using. So,
of course. And if the U.S. economy completely craters, and we're in the same situation as, say, Venezuela, Bernie Sanders got elected, and we're now in that same situation as Venezuela, because he said Venezuelans, they got it figured out. So we're there, and you're carrying your wheelbarrow of green dollars to go get your loaf of bread,
Right.
that's no value. You know, however the currency's inflated or whatever it is, you basically the dollar is a standard. We've established a standard of trade in the U.S. where if I say, like, my son's Jeep is broken, I say, I want you to come look at my Jeep. And you say, well, I need X amount of some currency that I can spend somewhere else because I really don't want to look at the Jeep for you, but if you give me something, I will do that.
Yes, compensation.
And yeah, it's compensation. If I have to give you chickens to come out and look at my Jeep, then so be it. But whatever that compensation is at the time, and right now, the dollar is currently the accepted currency in the U.S., where the Bitcoin is a highly, well, right now you're seeing a huge drive up of the value of cryptocurrency, which represents, if it was trading power, it would be a deflationary economy.
Yeah,
So,
over the last couple of weeks, it's actually been going down because of some newly announced federal regulations and things like that they're trying to press. But that's besides the point. I do want to say, compared to the U.S. dollar as the accepted standard, yeah, cryptos are incredibly volatile. But if you're looking at a scenario like Venezuela, where the value of your dollar is worthless, and it's way more volatile than Bitcoin starts to look pretty interesting at that point. It's like, well,
you are correct.
And that's where I feel like we're going to see the most mass adoption of this technology first, is if we can figure out how to get into third world countries and places where you have these huge dictatorship scenarios going on, where they have complete control over the currency, which arguably, that's the same way the U.S. dollar works. We're just kind of got a few layers of of lies between us. But I feel like that's the first place you're going to see that really take hold, where people see the true value in the idea of trading without any third-party intermediary trying to handle that or trying to tweak it or fix it, or which always ends up worse than they mean for it to turn out.
I agree with you. I agree with you that Bitcoin or whatever currency or fad at that time that's most widely accepted will become the currency of choice if, say, the U.S. we're going to go back to the U.S. The U.S. government completely failed, and the dollar has absolutely no buying power, because all the businesses, all the corporations, the government is completely fallen. But I still think that's the least of your worries at that point.
Right.
And I'm moving back to the ranch, and I'm going to figure out how to feed cows and do that again, which that's not very hard.
Well, what I see happening with the way people will, okay, there was something I heard a long time ago, and let me see what you think about this. Is you don't, they said you don't have a true free market economy until you have competition in the currency. And right now with the U.S. dollar, I know you said we accept it as the standard of trade, but that I would also say it's kind of being forced on us too. I mean, it's actually illegal for us to come up with a competing currency to the U.S. dollar. I mean, it's like the mob coming in and saying, no, you can't do that. You all trade with what we tell you to trade with.
Well, I grew up on a ranch. I grew up out in the middle of nowhere. And, my closest neighbor, I couldn't see him.
Yeah.
So, and a form of trade in backwoods rural Texas was, I have a boat, you have a car. I don't need a boat. You don't need the car. We trade.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's still a form of trade.
Mm-hmm.
I have chickens. They lay eggs. I can trade you chicken eggs for your scraping honey off beehives. I hate bees. I like honey though. So here's some eggs for some honey. So
that'll make sense.
If we go back, so there are other forms of currency that aren't regulated by the government. I'm not a fan of government regulation. So this one regulation on, two regulations off that Trump's doing, huge fan of it. In fact, I think it should be 5 regulations.
Oh, matter of fact, last I heard, it's actually turned out to be more like 22 to 1. He's doing really well.
That's great. That was better than I could dream. I said 5.
Yeah.
So thank you for that information.
Yeah. It's pretty incredible. Man, this has been a fantastic conversation, and I definitely look forward to having more like this with you. I feel like maybe we both might have learned a little something today. So that's and if that happened with us, then imagine all the people that are watching and how much they can learn too. So.
Oh, I don't know.
I mean, we're just a couple of idiots on the internet. So.
True that.
We'll go with that.
So yeah, this has been a great conversation. Bitcoin, like I said, I dabble in it, but it's not the accepted currency. So, and hopefully, with you and the dollars, hopefully you look at that 401k differently.
Oh yeah.
Or you look at other investments differently.
Yeah, I've still got them all, there. It's not the stuff I'm putting in. Like you said, you're dabbling. I'm basically dabbling. I'm not putting a huge amount. Nothing. If it goes to 0, I'm not heartbroken.
Nothing I would miss.
Yeah, basically. So, all right, Chris. I'm gonna leave your information for folks in the low bar. So if anybody wants to check out Chris's channel, Chris Does What, be sure to check that out and head on over and subscribe to his channel. He's got some pretty interesting videos and a lot of life to teach you. All right.
Yeah, definitely interesting.
All right.